Hello, hope you're having a good day today. Back into the Arban duets we go. So this one is number 23, called The Two Savoyards. You might wonder what that is. So if you're a curious person, and I encourage you to be curious in every way, because it makes life much more interesting, you might wonder what that is. I did, and I found out when I looked it up that a Savoyard is someone from the Savoy region of France, which makes sense since the book is by a French composer, Jean-Baptiste Arban. So he's picking from something that he's familiar with. Now this might be a folk tune. The region is an alpine region, which I'm particularly attracted to since I love the mountains. And it's got a certain flavor to it. There are a couple of things in it I want to point out. One is you have this drone effect again right at the beginning. So here's the second trumpet part, the way it sounds at the beginning. And you have a grace note going on there too. So the things to listen for when you're doing these things, or when you're simply listening to the parts that I've recorded for you, is listen for the qualities in the note that are in the gesture. Here you have a grace note, so it's da-dum, da-dum. You notice what trumpet players do a lot of times is they'll put the first note that comes out of the horn usually is stronger, because sometimes the energy gets built up behind the tongue. So you go like this, and that means that first note's going to kind of explode. But we don't want that to happen. We want the accent to be on the half note. So, dom, dom, and it's very similar to what I just did with a voice. So you hear the grace note, but it's quieter, and it forms a gesture leading into the accented half note. And also, the half note decays, and then another half note starts, or the grace note leading into the next half note starts. So you have this pattern, which, it has that drone kind of effect, very repetitive. But see, if you think you're just playing notes here, and then you're not doing something expressive, and then you will get disinterested in what you're doing. So always look for the expressive potential there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play the second part, and we'll go back and do the first part, and there's some interesting things in the first part in terms of this inflection, gesture, or articulation style, you might say. Here we go. This is the second part. Okay, now let's go back and take a look at the first part. The first part, you see some interesting things, and actually we see this all the way through. At the very beginning, in the first part, you see accents, but you also see what look like slur markings at the same time, and that's confusing to a lot of people. Sometimes you'll see an accent, or you'll see a staccato dot underneath what seems to be a slur marking. So that requires you to make an articulation choice. And if you're a person who likes rules, a good place to start would be when you see the slur marking, the notes are connected, but they're also accented. They're not separated. And the same thing with staccato. When you see the staccato dots with the slur marking over it, the notes are connected, they're not separated, and they're lightly articulated. But that's a lot of words to explain what's already built in. It's already built in. So if you can hear it, you should be able to do it. That's kind of what you're working on here. I'm going to go ahead and play the first part. And before I do that, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about with the accent. Now, if I do a tongue accent, this is important. I hear this a lot. So I get I'm kind of giving an explosive accent. That's a style, but I don't think it fits this. I think the accent needs to be, the quality of it needs to be more bouncy and kind of fun. And when you get that explosion, it's a little bit more demanding. It's a little bit more threatening, maybe. A little explosion there. And those are all expressive things. It's what expression is appropriate to this. I get a picture of two guys walking along, maybe arm in arm, enjoying the day. It's like a march. It doesn't say that it's a march, but it feels like a march. So what should it sound like? Well, see, that's a matter of opinion. But if I do it without tonguing at all, I'm just going to accent without tonguing at all. I hope you get the idea. You see, I accented every single one of those, only with my breath. Now, if this is confusing to you, I want to assure you, you already know how to do this. See, we can already do it with our voice. We do it all the time without being conscious of it. So this starts with just hear that sound that you want. It's got some kind of character to it. And so when you hear that, you see I'm not disconnecting notes. Then I add a light articulation. How much? This is a good rule of thumb, you might say. Season to taste. Do it, experiment with it. So I'm going to tongue it very lightly. I'm hardly tonguing at all. Very, very light. Just enough to give some definition. And I might go back and decide, no, I'm not going to tongue at all. I'm just going to do it with a breath accent. That's what seems best to me. So you see what kind of freedom you have? It's a freedom and it's a responsibility. Making all these choices. Use your taste. Experiment. Try the different flavors. See what you like. Put things together. Don't worry about right or wrong. Don't worry about success or failure. Just worry about experiencing what you're doing here. That's what really makes it fun. So I'm going to attempt to play through without mistakes the first trumpet part and give you a little bit of that flavor. So listen for some of those things we just talked about. Oops, I played one wrong note. I don't think it will disturb the musical effect too much. But if you notice, yeah, I noticed it right after I did it. Part of the fact is that I don't have the glasses on that allow me to see the music quite well. And I probably should, but maybe next time. Okay. So I hope you heard some of those things. And again, realize that it's not just about right or wrong or what the teacher tells you to do. Start with those suggestions, get an idea, and then give yourself permission to explore. There was one other little thing that I did, and if you're listening, you noticed it. At the end of the second line, now all I did was da, da, da. All I did was, that's breath control. I stopped the air, but see, you already know how to do that. Da, da. Practice it. Practice it first with your voice. Da, 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 da. Yeah, I like that. It's got a kind of a jaunty, feel to it. You wouldn't go ta, 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 ta. See, that makes it very choppy and it gets very, very vertical and it doesn't have that feeling of release. But see, these things have to be practiced in. So when I have this issue, just like I showed you today, if I do accents, so I did it tongued lightly, I did it slurred. I'm experimenting with it. That's the fun part. So please give yourself permission to do that. So I'm playing with it. I'm getting different gestures, different emphasis, different release. It's fun. That's why I became a trumpet player, because it was fun. I could have done a lot of other things. I was very interested in chemistry, and still am. Science is fascinating, but I thought it would be more fun to be a trumpet player, and I think that I'm right. And I bet you think so too. So I will see you later on, and I hope that you enjoyed this session. Bye-bye.